Leaders, listen. Hi, my name is Kamira, and I welcome you to the second episode of this series. Let's begin with some scripture. First, I'd like to read to you from Luke chapter 6, verses 6 to 7. I'm reading from the New King James Version. And it says, "So the scribes and Pharisees watched him closely, whether he would heal on the Sabbath day, that they might find an accusation against him. But he knew their thoughts, and said to the man who had the withered hand, 'Arise and stand here.' And he arose and stood." One of the things that I appreciate about this scripture is that it shows us a portrait of a leader who is attentive to the people that they're meant to serve and the people that they're meant to lead. Sometimes, depending on what you're leading or what sphere you're leading in, it can be very easy to have a tunnel vision on what needs to be done. It can be very easy to focus so much on tasking and leading your people through tasking that you miss what's going on with them. But one of the things that I've learned, and I'm still learning as someone who is very task-oriented, is to be very attentive to the people that I'm leading. Let's have another scripture. I'd like to read from Luke chapter 11, verses 16 through 17. And it says this, "But he, knowing their thoughts, said to them, 'Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and a house divided against a house falls.'" One of the things that leaps out of this passage of scripture for me is the importance of being led by the Spirit of God as a leader. Being led by the Spirit of God and having a spirit of discernment. So, being in leadership invariably means that you're going to be leading people of many different kinds of personalities. You're going to be leading people who are very pure in heart, and what they say is what they mean. And you're going to have other persons who will say one thing and have in their heart a very, very different thing. This is not to say that you're going to treat those persons with impure motives poorly and treat those with pure motives better, right? But that does mean that you need to lead in a manner that you are aware of what's going on. Yes? And so I love how it says that Jesus, knowing their thoughts. So whilst the persons that were in front of Jesus were saying one thing, him being aware of their thoughts knew how to move forward more appropriately. Next, I'd like to read Proverbs chapter 11, verse 14. And it says this, "Where there is no counsel, the people fall, but in the multitude of counselors there is safety." And immediately following, I would like to read a scripture from Exodus 18, verses 12b to 19. And here is what it says. "And Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before God. And so it was on the next day that Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood before Moses from morning until evening. So when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did for the people, he said, 'What is this thing that you are doing for the people? Why do you alone sit and all the people stand before you from morning until evening?' And Moses said to his father-in-law, 'Because the people come to me to inquire of God. When they have difficulty, they come to me, and I judge between them and between one another.'" I'm going to read that again, starting at verse 16. "When they have a difficulty, they come to me, and I judge between one and another, and I make known the statutes of God and his laws. So Moses' father-in-law said to him, 'The thing that you do is not good. Both you and these people who are with you will surely wear yourselves out, for this thing is too much for you. You are not able to perform it by yourself. Listen now to my voice. I will give you counsel, and God will be with you. Stand before God for the people, so that you may bring the difficulties to God.'" I'm going to read verse 19 again. "Listen now to my voice. I will give you counsel, and God will be with you. Stand before God for the people, so that you may bring their difficulties to God." What I so appreciate about this scripture, coupled with what we read from Proverbs chapter 11, verse 14, is that they are such good and necessary medicine for the temptation that a lot of leaders face. And the temptation is this, I need to do everything. I need to have all the answers. I need to know everything. And yet when we see Moses' father-in-law, someone who loved him and someone who didn't really have anything to gain from giving him the advice that he did give him, when we see his father-in-law talking to him, we understand in their interaction that yes, you are someone that God chose, and yes, you are someone who has a strong relationship with God. And yet, within the team that God gives you, within the people that He has provided to you, there are perspectives that broaden your perspective. There are solutions that may not come out of your own head, and yet they are the right solutions for that moment. And so I love how it says also in Proverbs chapter 11, verse 14, that in the multitude of counselors there is safety. I know that as a person, I think in a particular kind of a way. Yes, and yet I have my best friend who thinks in a very different kind of way, and I have my mom who thinks in a very different kind of a way. And so when I am surrounded by those persons, if I'm making a decision or if I'm contemplating something, it's so beautiful how they can bring a different perspective that may help to alleviate a blind spot that I have, that helps to ensure safety and helps to ensure greater success. And so if you are someone who's beginning to lead, I encourage you to listen today. Listen. Most importantly, listen to the voice of God. Listen to the Spirit of God. God is the one who has called you, and the greatest asset that He's given you is His Spirit on the inside of you to lead you and to guide you and to show you things that you could not have possibly figured out on your own. So listen to the Spirit of God. If you are someone who hasn't had discernment or walked in discernment in the past, you've just taken things at face value, I encourage you to get before God in prayer and ask Him, Lord, give me a spirit of discernment. Help me to get to the heart of the matter. If you are someone who is very busy and moves very fast in your leadership, and I say this because I relate to it so personally, I would say get before God in prayer and ask Him to steady you. Lord, give me a heart and a mind that is steady so I don't miss the people that you have given me to lead. I don't miss what's going on with them. I don't miss what's happening. Yes? And if you are somebody who is in your leadership and you feel the pressure of needing to know everything or needing to be able to do everything, I just bless you again to get in a place of prayer before the Lord and ask Him, Lord, I thank you for giving me wisdom and discernment to identify the persons that you have placed around me, to broaden my perspective, to bring God wisdom that's actually going to ensure the success of the people I'm leading and the projects that I'm leading.